When Argentinian workers are under attack, what do?
Stand up, fight back!
When our families are under attack, what do?
Stand up, fight back!
When our jobs are under attack, what do?
Stand up, fight back!
This rally today in front of the Oakland Federal Building is part of an international day of action, global day of action, to support the Workers' Party in Argentina, the Piqueteros, who've been attacked by the Milei government, the fascist Milei government. My name is Steve Zeltzer. I'm with the United Front Committee for a Labor Party. And we are supporting the brothers and sisters in Argentina because the union busting that's going on, the privatization that's going on, is not just in Argentina, it's right here in this country. The attacks on the working class in Argentina are supported by the U.S. government, the Democrats and Republicans, through the IMF. They are supporting privatization in Argentina, and they're also supporting the repression against the Argentinian working class. Tens of thousands of workers have been laid off. They tried to ban workers from having demonstrations in Argentina. The Workers' Party was the first organization that organized a protest against the Milei government in Argentina. And that was very important because Milei said there were going to be no demonstrations, there were going to be no rallies in Argentina against his rule. Despite that, the Workers' Party organized a rally with thousands of other workers. That was the first protest against the attack of the Milei government. And the government is trying to destroy the left wing. In Argentina, unlike the United States, there are mass workers' parties that have thousands of members. And there's an unemployed movement called the Piqueteros movement in Argentina, which organizes unemployed immigrants, migrants, and organizes to feed the workers, the unemployed workers, as well as blocking highways to get food so that they can survive. And what we're seeing with the rise of fascism in Argentina is that the capitalists now in Argentina say that the only solution is to crush the working class. And we know that in the United States you have the same fascist forces that want to attack blacks, attack LGBTQ people, attack Muslims, and also set up a fascist government in the United States. So we see the danger of fascism is not just something in Argentina, but in the United States, and a global danger. This united front that we have today is to actually show our solidarity with the Argentinian workers, the Workers' Party, and the Piqueteros, and say it's not just in Argentina, it's in this country as well. We have to warn workers, we have to organize in the working class to prepare for the attacks that are coming. So our first speaker is David from the SL.
The defense of the Partido Obrero of Argentina is in the elementary interests of the international working class. The reactionary Milei regime has launched scores of police raids on leftist organizations around the country. Chief among them have been raids on the offices of the PO and Piquetero groups in which the PO is active. Leaders of the PO have been singled out for outrageous, fake frame-up charges of so-called corruption. Leaders such as Eduardo Belliboni and Vanina Biasi. Biasi, a PO leader and parliamentary deputy for the Left Front in Buenos Aires, faces persecution for criticizing the Zionist genocide in Gaza. This campaign of repression is aimed at the entire working class. Milei and his imperialist and ruling class backers intend to crush all resistance to their austerity policies imposed by the IMF. That is how they plan to keep the loot flowing to the Wall Street banks. Down with the persecution of the PO and other leftists for united front defense actions centered on the working class. U.S. imperialism is looting all of South America. The IMF dictates terms backed up by the Pentagon. The complete bankruptcy of the bourgeois nationalist Peronistas has been proven over the course of decades. Providing the desperate needs of the workers and poor in Argentina will require attacking the private property, both the private property of the Argentinian capitalists and imperialist interests. This will directly threaten the interests of the Argentinian bourgeoisie, and that is why the Peronistas cannot combat the imperialists. But the powerful Argentinian unions, centrally the CGT and CTA union federations, are crippled by their Peronista leadership. The urgent task for Argentinian revolutionaries is to break the working class from the Peronistas. How? By showing that the fight for national liberation must be fused with the fight for social liberation. It's not just that the unionist leaders are insufficiently militant. Striking a day longer or holding more rallies is not enough. Calling for these traitors to come up with a plan, as do many self-proclaimed Argentinian Trotskyists, based on their existing program, can only prepare more defeats. Nor is the answer alternative organizations to the unions. Piqueteros, neighborhood assemblies, action committees, etc. However necessary it is to organize these oppressed layers, to substitute them for the urgent fight within the unions for a new revolutionary leadership leaves the union bureaucracy unchallenged and the powerful industrial workers tied to the Peronistas. Yet, the parties of the workers' left front, the FITU, of which the PO is a part, put forward a sectarian perspective, seizing on the betrayals of the union bureaucracy to call for organizing independently of the bulk of the working class in the unions. What is to be done? Fight within the Peronista-led unions for united front action to defend the workers and poor. Fight for a communist leadership of the unions, to repudiate the foreign debt, expropriate the banks, and nationalize industry requires a perspective for political struggle for workers' power. We in the International Communist League call for wage increases linked to real inflation, reverse all privatizations, cancel the foreign debt, throw Millie out, for a government of the CGT, the CTAs, and the FITU. Defend the Partido Obrero. Smash Millie's witch hunt.
Thank you, brother. And I think we also need to note that the role of U.S. imperialism, not only in Argentina but in the Middle East, is genocidal. The murder of the Palestinians, and that genocide is expanding to the West Bank where there are pogroms and the bombing of the people of Lebanon. And behind it all is the United States, because Israel, the Zionist state, would not be able to operate with the backing of the U.S. government, both the Democrats and Republicans. They're all together in this attack on the working class of the world, and particularly this genocide against Palestinians and people of the Middle East. So our next speaker is Jason from Speak Out.
Hello, good afternoon. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah.
Yes, all right. So yes, my name is Jason and I'm active with Speak Out Socialists. We are here today to stand shoulder to shoulder in solidarity with the working class overall, and in particular the folks in Partido Obrero and the Piquetero movement in Argentina, who have been facing some serious attacks from the Milei regime. In many ways, looking at what is happening in Argentina is an X-ray of our entire society. It is a window into our future. Every layoff, every eviction, every budget cut is backed up by a line of riot cops. In Argentina, as the Milei regime pushed through these extreme economic policies that have imposed more and more poverty onto the population, they have simultaneously criminalized protest. This is not an accident. While Milei and his regime of austerity are horrendous for the Argentinian workers, this is not just an Argentinian problem. They are an outgrowth of the debt burden of hundreds of thousands of dollars imposed onto the Argentinian population. And this debt was largely driven up by military dictatorships over the decades supported by the United States. Those who have had the audacity to stand up against these attacks, including groups like the Partido Obrero and the Piquetero movement, have been caught in the crosshairs of repression, with their leaders facing criminal charges as well as having their offices raided by police. As a hint to what may come here in this part of the world, we've seen police training facilities, also known as cop cities, being constructed, whether in Atlanta or right down the way here in San Pablo. While certainly not on the same scale, we've also seen similar attacks against basic democratic rights of free speech and the ability to protest against government policies, both in Argentina as well as here in the United States. Here in the U.S., as occupations and protests have developed against the genocidal violence on the Palestinians, so has the repression. Journalists have been suspended and fired, whether in Colombia or in the Cal State system. University students, professors, and even officials have been suspended, expelled, and fired for not being silent or following the Zionist narratives. Here in Oakland, a teacher lost his job for booking a facility for activists to meet and discuss next steps in the movement against the genocide in Palestine. So as I wrap up, at the core, the problems that we face are international. Our struggles must be international in scope as well. Every time that the working class is beaten back in one part of the world, we all suffer the consequences. Every time the working class is victorious in its struggles, we all step forward immensely. Solidarity with the rebels in Argentina, solidarity with all of us around the world, rebels and workers who are fighting for a better future. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, brother. And there are political prisoners in Argentina as well who've been arrested because of their political activity against the attack on pensions, on union busting that's going on in Argentina. And our next speaker is going to talk about the struggle of the Labor Action Committee for Free Mumia, Richard Tan. Welcome, Richard.
Hello, everybody. First of all, I'd like to give you all an update on Mumia Abu Jamal's case. I'm a member of the Labor Action Committee to Free Mumia. A court decision came down yesterday on the 22nd in the Superior Court of Pennsylvania, which is the intermediate appellate court between the trial courts and the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania. It was a bad decision. The courts rejected Mumia's appeal and stated that the trial court did not have jurisdiction to hear Mumia's claims. That is a transparent lie. When the trial court gave its decision, it was without doubt that the claims that Mumia was bringing in his appeal were new. They were based on a letter from one of the witnesses in the original trial, Robert Chobert, who sent a letter to the prosecution saying, "When am I going to get paid?" That was newly discovered evidence. The court rejected it because it's Mumia. They're never going to let a class struggle revolutionary out. These are capitalist courts. You're right. Right. I should not say never. They will not release Mumia until the working class unites and takes militant action to free him, just like the IOWU did when it shut down all the courts on the west, all the ports, not all the courts, on the West Coast in service of Mumia's freedom. And that's the kind of militant action that we need in order to defend the working class, both here in the United States and also in Argentina, where the PO is facing repression. Right now, as all of you know, the war is happening in Gaza, and there have been cases where protesters are being charged in the courts here in the Bay Area and also across the state from the encampments. We have managed to beat some of those cases, and what I can tell you is that the most important thing in each of those cases is when the protesters and the people supporting them show up at the courthouse and start demonstrating outside the courtroom, and that influences the process more than any legal argument ever could. We got one of the cases dismissed last week. It was one of the cases resulting from a protest at the Israeli consulate, and when the negotiations were going on inside the chambers, the judge could hear the hundreds of people out in the corridor who were chanting "Free Palestine," and that's what swayed the judge's thinking, not legal arguments. We need militant workers' action in order to free Mumia and all leftist political prisoners. Thank you.
Yeah! Woo!
How's it going, folks? My name is Carlos Gabriel. I'm an activist here in the Bay. I also work for the union in San Francisco. If I may, I'm going to do a little bit of chanting just to get folks, to wake folks up. Not too many, just a few basic chants. So if you can follow me, I know you guys know some of these chants. The first one I'll do is, when workers are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back!
When Argentinian workers are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back!
When public workers are being privatized, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back!
And then you're into one?
is an injury to all.
An injury to one.
Is an injury to all.
Who's got the power? We got the
power.
What kind of power?
Workers' power.
Who's got the power?
We got the power.
What kind of power?
Workers' power.
Now we got to say what power. Who's got the power?
We got the power.
What kind of power?
Workers' power.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I was at a strike line actually on Saturday night because the San Francisco Symphony Chorus was out on strike. And I mean, these singers who are members of a union actually are paid like $22,000 a year as singers. And they have to fight to get that, and they want to take it away. The billionaires who run the nonprofit which runs the chorus and runs the symphony are billionaires, but they can't pay them a living wage. But I have to say, it was one of the most beautiful sounding picket lines I ever heard. They sang the Requiem on the picket line. So these people have to be supported, and we need musicians and artists to be part of this struggle in the working class. So our next speaker is Jack Heyman with the Internationalist Group and a retired member of ILW Local 10. Welcome, Jack.
Thank you, Steve. As Steve said, I'm a retired member of ILW Local 10. I'm proud to say that I was the person that initiated the resolution that closed every port on the West Coast in defense of Mumia Abu-Jamal. We need to keep those kinds of actions up if Mumia is going to be free. But we're here today to defend the working class in Argentina, which is under attack. We stand in solidarity with these workers. And as Steve mentioned before, I am speaking as a supporter of the Internationalist Group. We stand in solidarity with those who are protesting against the Milei government in Argentina that is introducing a shock program against the working class. A shock program meaning there's massive layoffs, a brutal austerity program, and privatization. Now what makes it worse is even this right-wing Milei government is enhancing repression against the working class. They're sending brutal attacks by the police against the Piqueteros, against the Polo Obrero y Partido Obrero. We need to defend them. And this government criminalization of protests and escalating repression must come to an end. And I'll tell you why. I was a seaman back in the 70s, and I sailed on a ship to Argentina. I was a member of the Militant Solidarity Caucus in the National Maritime Union that was supported by the then revolutionary Spartacus League. Of course, they've given up any kind of class struggle in the trade unions. But I was down there and saw firsthand what happened under the Videla dictatorship in 1976. When we pulled into port, there were soldiers with automatic weaponry. If you walk into town, it was the same thing in town. Police were arresting people arbitrarily. It was a military dictatorship. Videla was ruthless, and it was very similar to what happened in Chile. We need to build a militant international solidarity movement to defend these people. So the Videla dictatorship, Videla made a very interesting quote when he took power under his dictatorship. He said, "As many people as necessary must die in Argentina so that the country will be secure." This is led to the disappearance of people, the brutality, the torture of people in prison. If we don't internationally organize and mobilize to defend Partido Obrero and the Polo Obrero, it's going to be a repeat, but we do have the power to stop them. Oakland is a union town. The Piqueteros mean the picketing people, the picketers, the workers. And Oakland is a union town, and we defend pickets. And we especially defend pickets that are under attack from a capitalist government. And that's what's happening in Argentina now. I got to warn the protesters here that in Argentina, that social programs that rely on capitalist funding to administer the funds of the workers put the workers themselves in a very vulnerable position. We call for the complete independence of the workers' movement from capitalist government. Drop the charges against Eduardo Belliboni, Tango Dotti, Jeremia Cantero, and other leaders of Polo Obrero. Stop the repression of the Piquetero movement and hands off Polo Obrero y Partido Obrero. Gracias.
Thank you, Jack. And for those who don't know, the United States was involved in the coup in 1976 in Argentina. And that coup killed thousands of workers. And the United States right now is involved in trying to set up a military base. The CIA director has gone to Argentina, and the AFL-CIO, International Solidarity Center, quote-unquote Solidarity Center, is funded by the National Endowment for Democracy, and the AFL-CIO leadership were involved in the coup in Argentina, as well in Chile and many other countries. And they also support the Histadrut. And one of the issues that we believe is critical is a fight in the unions against the Histadrut and demanding that the AFL-CIO break relations with the Histadrut and also stop taking money from the U.S. government. It has become an appendage of U.S. imperialism. Imagine that. The Solidarity Center of the AFL-CIO is funded by the U.S. government. And it operates in 62 countries around the world. And they are supporting reactionaries, nationalists, privatizers. They were involved in the privatization in Ukraine, the AFL-CIO. So this cancer that we have in the labor movement has to be fought politically in the unions because most workers are unaware of the role of the AFL-CIO internationally. So our next speaker is Ricardo Ortiz. He's a longtime labor researcher, supporter of the United Front Committee for a Labor Party. Welcome, Ricardo.
Thank you, Steve. So first we will start by reading a couple of messages right directly from where the repression and the action and resistance is going on. The first message is from Guillermo Kane, who is a member of the provincial parliament of the Buenos Aires province and also a member of the Central Committee of the Partido Obrero of Argentina, which is also members of the FITU Unidad, Frente de Izquierda a los Trabajadores Unidad. So we will begin with this message, then we will read a short message that was sent by Cesar Aracaki, which is a political activist in Argentina. He's an actor, he's a member of the Actors Union, and he is facing charges. He has been indicted by the Argentinian state since 2017, and we have to definitely mention the case of Aracaki right here. So we will begin with Guillermo's message. Comrades, we want to thank the comrades who have organized the demonstrations in solidarity with militants of the Partido Obrero and Polo Obrero who are being prosecuted by the Argentinian state. Actions of different magnitudes are being organized in Chile, Mexico, Uruguay, Brazil, Cuba, United States, Turkey, France, Greece, and Italy with the same demands. We're happy that in the working class district of Oakland, with its long history of revolutionary organizing, struggles for workers, and against racial oppression, this flag has been raised today as well. This has preceded by a signed statement with more than 400 important political and social representatives from people from over 25 countries. And it is clear that pressing this need for this international solidarity. The Milei government has singled out the Piquetero mass movement of unemployed workers and the revolutionary Trotskyists as enemies of the state. One of the appeals by the state attorneys being decided by the appeal court portrays the Pueblo Obrero, a movement of unemployed workers, which was founded in the year 2000 and has assemblies in hundreds of cities and in every one of the 24 provinces of Argentina, as nothing less than a criminal organization. They have used slander and persecution to try to isolate us for the rest of the working people. They have denied the most basic rights to a proper legal defense. They have organized 120 police raids against the Piquetero movement in these months on multiple organizations, mostly in the very humble houses of working class militants. Their failure so far is in several fronts. The Piquetero movement, through under siege, retains its organizational and political structure. Our movement has answered every single charge, and the repressive courts have prevented this evidence to be presented because they know that their criminal manufactured case will fall apart. They are really afraid and scared of the power of the working class organization. They have failed to be successful accusing us. In many cases, it's one of the National Congresswoman, Vanina Biasi, which is a representative to the Argentinian House of Representatives, who is accused by an state attorney of being a racist for denouncing the genocidal actions of Israel against Palestinians. And Eduardo Baliboni and leaders of the Pueblo Obrero are not only popular references in the struggle against Milei. He cannot walk down the street without working people asking to get their picture taken with them. Nobody knows that the criminals are in the House of Government, the Casa Rosada. Our struggle is the same as yours. Milei's ultra-right government is one expression of the struggle of state repression, which is becoming more acute all over the world. The international working class is one struggle for those who stand bravely against U.S. imperialism in its own country. To growing repressive legislation in Europe, to the heroic resistance in Palestine against the Zionist genocide. An international struggle against capitalism and imperialism needs an international unity of the working class. Nos vemos en la lucha. We will meet in struggle. Guillermo Kane, Frente de Izquierda a los Trabajadores Unidad, representative from the Partido Obrero to the Argentinian provincial parliament of the province of Buenos Aires. And now briefly, we are going to read the regards of Comrade Cesar Aracaki, who is definitely also facing repression and he's under attack. This is from Cesar. Hello, I salute this mobilization to for the defense of the victims of repression and against the persecution toward the party that I belong, the Partido Obrero. I am a militant that is condemned to defend the retired people in the year 2017 under the repressive government of Mauricio Macri. In those days, we faced the repression of a government that was not different very much from the one that is running the country now. I am condemned to 3 years of prison plus 4 months for false charges of crimes of public intimidation, injuries, and resistance to authority, and those charges are completely false. I'm waiting for the results of the Supreme Court of the Republic of Argentina. I will continue fighting for socialism of the working class and for class consciousness. Comrades, it's always the moment to fight and unite wherever we are, because that's how our revolutionary leaders, Marx, Engels, Lenin, etc., taught us. I send you a big hug and the greetings of thousands of comrades, and thank you for the solidarity that united us. Cesar Aracaki, militant of Partido Obrero of Argentina and political prisoner. And I want to close with a couple of minutes in order to inform you for the situation in Argentina, because although we thank the previous speakers for solidarity, but there are some facts that have not been mentioned and need to be mentioned. The grip of Yankee imperialism and the European Union and other imperialist powers is so much that 3 times in less than a year, the commander of the United States Southern Command, General Laura Richardson, had supposedly visited the country of Argentina, and publicly stated that the resources such as lithium and others are part of the defense of the national interests of the United States. I mean, from what authority this imperialist representative claims that they own resources in Argentina? The puppet called Javier Millie also received the head of the CIA, J. William Burns, this early March, and he met with the leaders of the Argentinian Federal Investigative Agency, which is the equivalent of the US FBI. And he promised so-called resources, which we know that are to reinforce the police sinister agencies of the Argentinian state. Somebody mentioned Videla, and that person is right in what he said. But there's more to that fact. Actually, the Argentinian government and the US government had a deal that the Argentinian army would help the US to train the Nicaraguan Contras. They did it together. And also in Argentina, not only the US was involved in the repression and the murder, the French imperialists also trained the military units that had under custody political prisoners. There are 30,000 people missed. And now the present government tries to deny those facts. They are deniers. But as the Argentinian working class say, there are 30,000. And we will remember them and we will avenge them. And that's how, we got to look at it. And during the Videla dictatorship, the Minister of Economy was Jose Alfredo Martinez de la Hoz, a reactionary, because not only the military was involved running the government. Actually, the government called themselves the Junta Cívico-Militar, civilian military junta. It was composed of, yes, the generals of all the armed forces, but also reactionaries like Martinez de la Hoz, who privatized everything that he could. And within Argentina, in the plants of Ford and in the plants of Mercedes-Benz, there were militants that were tortured and killed. Actually, there was a class action suit against Mercedes-Benz that was filed internationally, and obviously the courts, wouldn't let that lawsuit go forward. Another thing. Not only the members of the Partido Obrero have been brought into charges because of their opposition to the Argentinian marriage with the reactionary government of Israel. Actually, there is a Trotskyist leader, Alejandro Bodart, from the Socialist Movement of Workers, that was indicted by similar charges of inciting hate against Jewish people. What did he do? He criticized Israel He criticized Israel. He never said any anti-Semitic statement. It was a mobilization of people in Argentina, and the federal judge dismissed all these charges. But Alejandro is not safe yet. The Argentinian state, along with the DAIA, which is a conglomerate of pro-Israel organizations in Israel, have promised that they will come to the courts to appeal that decision and have Alejandro Bodart in prison. So we say, free Alejandro Bodart and other political prisoners, as well as Abeloni, Dotti, and the rest. Finally, the Israeli government has sent more than 10 UH-60 American-made helicopters to Milei, increasing the military collaboration of Israel and Argentina. So the very same murderers that kill Argentinian people, they are involved in killing and repressing Argentinians. So long live and victory to the Argentinian working class, free all political prisoners, down with sectarianism, and long live the revolutionary working class. Thank you.
Thank you, Ricardo. Free all political prisoners.
Free all political prisoners!
Free all political prisoners.
Free all political prisoners!
Hands off the PO.
Hands off the PO.
Hands off the Piqueteros.
Hands off the Piqueteros.
Smash the Milei government.
Smash the Milei government.
Stop fascist attacks on the working class.
Stop fascist attacks on the working class.
So one of the issues in this country, obviously, and the biggest movement that we've seen has been the Palestinian people and activists in this country fighting against the attack on the Palestinian people and the genocide. And the student movement, the encampments, has been important, but there's also been a workers' movement formed, Labor for Palestine and others, that are organizing in our unions to get the unions to support a boycott, military boycott of Israel. We need to shut down all the ships, shut down all the planes, and stop U.S. military aid to Israel. And the other issue is what's happening with education, because the attack on public education is increasing. Privatization through charters, and also attack on faculty who are supporting Palestinians and supporting the right of the Palestinians. Right here in Oakland, there was a fight against privatization of schools, against the closing of black and brown schools in Oakland. In San Francisco, the mayor and the state want to take over and shut down schools and set up more charters. This is what's going on. We need a united struggle of all workers in education, students, against the attack on public education. This is a critical class issue. And unfortunately, the union bureaucracy are not mobilizing. They're not uniting education workers. There needs to be a statewide strike of all education workers. How can they spend trillions of dollars of war and they can't take care of kids and get in a great education in California? That's what we have to ask. That is part of imperialism. That's part of the war machine, and that has to be fought. So our next speaker is Sean, who's an activist in the Oakland Education Association. Welcome, Sean.
Thanks, Steve. So, as Steve mentioned, I'm a high school teacher in Oakland. Oakland has been one of their, ground zeros for privatization for a number of years. 2003. So I've been involved in this struggle since 2012 when they closed those 5 elementary schools down. Some of you remember it was during Occupy Oakland. Anyway, so what the same attacks on the public sector that are happening in Argentina, we've been fighting these in this country for years as well. So I just wanted to send a big, solidarity shout out to the workers in Argentina from the Workers' Party. I was able to meet Guillermo when he came up and spoke in the Bay Area. And so, we set up, to have some kind of a joint forum with these workers from Argentina. It's going to come up happening hopefully in October, as we've kind of set it up. Again, I'm a member of the Rank and File Caucus. We organize teachers in OEA. An update, Kevin's son was the teacher last year who was repressed for him just putting his email down to reserve Westlake Middle School for this Bay Area Labor for Palestine meeting that was to take place. So, you know, long story short, Kevin was fired at the end of the year. The rank and file caucus and many other people have supported Kevin in attempting to attain his job back. We are, you know, after, you know, Kevin didn't get his job back at the end of the school year, but they're still fighting through the bureaucracy of the union. There is an unfair labor practice charge, so Kevin could indeed get his job within the district back. He will probably not get his job at Oakland High back. So just wanted to give you all an update on that. Again, my name is Shane, a member of Rank and File Caucus, also a member of Workers' Voice, who has, you know, is part of the left in Argentina as well. I really appreciate your all time. Shout out solidarity to the international workers class, or international working class.
Thank you, Shane. And this struggle for public education is continuing. We need a united front to defend public education. We're going to have a musician, Jimmy Kelly, who's a member of the Musicians Union, a labor troubadour. He's going to sing a song or two. Welcome, Jimmy Kelly.
I find a song today that Woody Guthrie wrote, but it seems just as appropriate for the occasion today, even though it's over 50 years old. It's called All You Fascists. I'm going to tell you fascists, you may be surprised. The people of this world are getting organized. You're bound to lose. You fascists, you're bound to lose. Here's the chorus. Sing it now. I said, all you fascists are bound to lose. I said, you fascists bound to lose. Yes, sir, you fascists bound to use. You fascists are bound to lose. While there's people, every nation marching side by side, marching across these fields where a million fascists died. You're bound to lose. You fascists, you're bound to lose. All you fascists are bound to lose. Yes, sir, you fascists are bound to lose. All you fascists are bound to lose. You fascists are bound to lose. You're bound to lose. Well, race hatred can't stop us. This one thing I know. Your poll tax and your Jim Crow creed has got to go. You're bound to lose. Next page. You fascists are bound to lose. I said, all you fascists are bound to lose. You fascists are bound to lose. I said, all you fascists are bound to lose. You fascists are bound to lose. You're bound to lose. All you fascists are bound to lose. One more time. I said, all you fascists are bound to lose. 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 Bound to lose. You fascists are bound to lose. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, brothers and sisters. Thank you for coming. And the comrades, the workers in Argentina appreciate this international solidarity, this united front. We're going to keep up the fight, and we are going to win and smash the capitalists and defend the working class and create a society where the working people run this world. Thank you, brothers and sisters.
What kind of power?
Workers' power.
Who's got the power?
We got the power.
What kind of power?
Workers' power.
He's got the power, because he's a worker. Who's got the power? He was laughing at us. What kind of power?
Workers' power.
Who's got the power?
We got the power.
When our jobs are under attack, what do we do?